Hey everybody, thank you for joining me. This is a cold case that may have been solved after a lot of years. This literally happened way back in 1930. And this has to do with one of the most high-profile kidnappings ever, which was Mary Agnes Moroney, who was kidnapped at 2 years old from her home in Chicago. What happened was her parents were having a really hard time. This lady came to the door presenting herself as a social worker. She, at that first meeting, wanted to take Mary Agnes with her, and Mary's mother said no and would not let her take her with her. And she said she was going to take her to California and fatten her up and, treat her well. They were having a hard time providing for their children, the parents, but her mom still said no, she wasn't going to do that. The next day, the social worker comes to the house, the social worker, and she has all kinds of clothes and stuff, and she says she wants to take Mary Agnes shopping and buy her some new clothes and some more shoes and things like that. So the mom kind of reluctantly agreed at that point. She'd already been to her house once, and so mom felt a little more comfortable with her. So then they went to the store and they never came back. And so that was the situation with Mary Agnes. There's a few people that claim to be her over the years, and it turned out not to be her. So why do we think we know who she is now after all these years? This was way back in 1930s. Well, DNA now have pointed some people in this family in Michigan to this Jeanette Burchard, and they think that Mary Agnes was taken to Michigan and that this woman raised her as her own Jeanette Burchard. We don't know if the person that took her was the actual person that raised her. This is all we know, that she ended up in Michigan, and the DNA has linked relatives of Mary Agnes to this other family in Michigan who should not be their relatives, and that Mary Agnes's daughter has DNA that links her to a different background than the one that she had supposedly been born into. So it's very, very questionable. It looks like that probably is the case, but as we all know, people do have extramarital affairs. So is Jeanette Burchard Mary Agnes Moroney, or could Mary Agnes's father potentially have fathered other children outside of the marriage? Because that does happen. We all know that. If you've gotten your DNA done, you may have discovered relatives that you never knew you had. So what we're going to read today is this really Mary Agnes, or is this somebody else? Because it could potentially be somebody else. So let's ask about, we'll just get a card for this being Mary Agnes, and we'll pull a card for this being somebody else. So let me pull a card for this being Mary Agnes. I'm just going to focus on Mary Agnes for a second. She was only 2 years old when she was taken. Cute little child. At least if it is her, nothing bad happened to her, that she was, it sounds like cared for. Tell me about this being Mary Agnes. Jeanette Burchard being Mary Agnes. Okay, so we got a card for yes, and we'll get a card for no, because that's how I do my yes and no's. Tell me about this not being Mary Agnes, this Jeanette Burchard. So let's see what we get here. Not being Mary Agnes, Jeanette Burchard not being Mary Agnes. Okay, so there's 2 cards for that. All right, we're going to go ahead and pull a card for yes. And that's the Justice card. So you know what? I really think this actually is her. I do. I think justice is you getting your right reward, things coming, the truth coming out. things finally being set right, and people finally getting their justice. And I feel like that family is finally getting their justice. They are realizing that this was Mary Agnes. It does look like it is. So that's kind of neat. That's pretty cool. All right, let's see about it not. So we got the death card, and the death card says no. You know, that's a big no. And we got the going into the world making plans card. So for it not being, we've got death, and to those plans of it being somebody else. You know, the dad didn't go into the world and spread his seed, basically, is what's telling me. There's a big no to that. So I really feel that this girl, Jeanette Burchard, was Mary Agnes. Just out of curiosity, I'm going to open my door for a second here, but then I'm going to ask, go ahead. Then I'm going to ask why she was kidnapped, why this woman took her. So let me see why Mary Agnes was kidnapped. You know, somebody probably thought they could give her a better life and all that, because she was in extreme poverty, is my understanding. Why was Mary Agnes taken? At least she didn't end up dead. This man was a good provider. The father, the people felt they could give her a good life, that they could provide for her, and that they could give her a happy life. Look at this person is money, providing. The King of Pentacles is a good provider financially, the best provider. They thought, you know, in their minds, they thought they could give her a better life. They could provide for her. They could give her a happy life, and that it would be the best all around. That's what they thought. I know people do things to justify their actions. And they did. They did. They justified their actions, and they went and took her, feeling that they were going to give her a better life than what she otherwise would have had. Maybe they were able to do that. You hope for the best. It looks like Mary Agnes, as Jeanette Burchard, went on to become a nurse, and you just hope she had a good life. Let's ask if she did. How about, let's pull a card for her having stayed in the home as Mary Agnes, and her having been growing up as Jeanette Burchard. So tell us about, she would have been loved clearly as Mary Agnes. Tell us about her growing up as, and money's not everything, you know, it's just not. You see people that have a lot of money. Well, look at that, Paul and his dad, who just got convicted of murder. You know, they had all kinds of money, the Murdochs. All right, tell us about her growing up as Mary Agnes, and we actually have two cards here. So things would have been shaky, a little bit uncertain. We know that with the family. We know there may have been some issues there. They weren't, you know, they weren't in poverty. So this card, the moon, is a card of a lot of uncertainty. You know, just things not being as stable as you would like them to be. But I do feel she would have been loved, really loved, because that's King of Cups. So even though the environment might not have been the most stable, she would have really been loved. Let's see about her growing up as Jeanette Burchard and what that was like. So tell us about her growing up as Jeanette Burchard, Mary Agnes, and what that was like with this new family. Tell us about what her growing up was like. Because you hope they just took her, and it looks like, just to give her a good life, which is wonderful, but not wonderful. You know what I mean? I'm saying wonderful because people take hits for a lot of bad reasons. This doesn't seem to be one of them, which is wonderful to me to be able to read that. Tell me about her growing up as Jeanette Burchard, Mary Agnes, and what her life was like. So we also have two cards for that. You know, I'm just going to be honest. We have the 10 of Swords. So I don't know that her life was always the most happy. 10 of Swords is a completion card as well. So her old life completed. There was a finality to it. And we have these 9 of Pentacles, an independent woman who is reversed now. And I don't usually read reversed, but it feels that she was a lot less independent than she would have other been. Even though she became a nurse, I feel like she was somewhat felt trapped. think there was a little bit of an overbearing kind of controlling situation going on with her growing up in this other household, and probably her parents were always afraid that somebody would realize who this child was. But that's what I get. I feel like she was kept almost under lock and key, too tight, didn't get to explore and become independent on her own as a youngster, and was very much controlled. So mental health wise, as in becoming a healthy adult, neither situation I think was great for her, to be honest with you. She was loved a lot in her first family, and in the second family I feel more of a controlling, we're going to keep you under lock and key almost. I guess those people know how easy a child could be taken because they've done it. But it doesn't feel like a really healthy situation for her, which is kind of sad. I'm sure she became an adult, she went on, but as a child, I just feel like she was not able to explore like a child should be and to become independent. Yeah, that's too bad. Okay, well, that is my reading on Mary Agnes Moroney, who is Jeanette Burchard, according to the cards. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.